Have you ever felt an inexplicable certainty, a deep calling that comes not from your mind or your emotions, but from a quieter, older, more sacred place within? This isn't your imagination. It's a sign that something inside you is trying to speak, and it isn't your brain. Long before the heart was considered a biological pump that drives the blood, it was revered as the throne of the soul, the center of divine wisdom, a mirror reflecting the secrets of the universe. The ancient spiritual traditions not only sensed its importance, they knew it with certainty. They spoke not of the physical heart, but of another heart, an invisible, immaterial one that awakens when all else fails. The spiritual heart. Imagine for a moment that there is a subtle temple within you, built not of stone, but of light and pure energy. A tranquil place that remains intact in the face of the world's chaos. This temple is the spiritual heart and not only regulates your emotions, but also directs your life energy, guides your deepest decisions, and connects your soul to the eternal. It is a hidden organ, invisible to the eye, but as real as your thoughts or even more so. In this video, we will delve deeper into the veils of mystery. Let's explore the idea that the true control center of your existence is not your brain, but a sacred energy point pulsing deep within your chest. Let's decipher its nature, trace its presence in ancient teachings, and show you how you can begin to consciously activate it in your everyday life. We will discuss how ancient civilizations recognized its power, why the spiritual heart has been deliberately neglected by modern materialistic science, and how its awakening can make the difference between an automated life and a truly enlightened existence. This will not be a superficial tour. I will guide you through the hidden passages of human consciousness, revealing hidden teachings, esoteric symbols, practical techniques, and insights that could transform your self-perception. I will show you why the spiritual heart is much more than a metaphor. It is the forgotten center of the human being, the true throne of the soul. Prepare yourself, because what you are about to discover is not information, but ancient knowledge, and once you see it, you will never forget it. Since time immemorial, sages, mystics, and guardians of knowledge have claimed that the true heart of man is not the physical organ in the chest, but an invisible being, a sacred core where the eternal dwells. This spiritual heart has many names: the center of the soul, the inner temple, the lotus of the chest. But its function has always remained the same: to be the point of connection between the human and the divine. For the ancient Egyptians, the heart was more than vital. It was the seat of conscience and morality. In the Book of the Dead, the soul of the deceased was led to the Last Judgment, where the heart was placed on a scale before the feather of Ma'at, a symbol of truth and cosmic order. If the heart was heavy, that is, burdened with spiritual impurities, the soul was devoured by a monstrous creature. It wasn't the thoughts that were judged, but the heart. This allegory reveals something profound. For the Egyptians, the heart was the silent witness of the inner life, the archive in which the true actions of the soul were recorded. In the Vedic traditions of India, we find the term anahata, the fourth chakra, in the center of the chest. Its name means unbeaten sound or primal vibration, and represents a state of pure consciousness. Beyond the dual conflict between spirit and matter, Anahata is not just an energetic center, but the gateway to unconditional love, compassion, and intuitive wisdom. Yogis believe this is the point at which the soul begins to awaken to its true nature. Islamic mysticism, particularly Sufism, also refers to the spiritual heart, known as the Kav. In this tradition, the bald head is considered a mirror that, when clean, reflects divine light, but when covered with dust, the dust of worldly desires, ego, and ignorance, it loses its ability to reflect the truth. Sufis do not only strive for intellectual knowledge, they seek to awaken the heart, for it is there that the true connection with the beloved, that is, with the divine, takes place. In mystical Christianity, too, we find the image of the Sacred Heart as a symbol of divine love radiating directly from the center of being. It is no coincidence that saints and visionaries spoke of the heart as a living flame, a burning sanctuary. Saint Teresa of Jesus, for example, described the soul as an inner fortress, and the deepest place, the center, was the place of union with God. And where was this center? In the heart. These traditions, separated by time, geography, and culture, agreed on something essential. There is a center beyond thought, a secret chamber of the soul where eternal wisdom dwells. It was neither a theory nor a poetic metaphor. This truth was experienced by those who dared to silence the mind and penetrate the depths of being. The modern world, dominated by cold reason and materialism, has ceased to listen to this hidden heart. Yet, if we heed these ancient teachings, we realize that it is not a matter of rediscovering a symbolic idea, but rather of rediscovering a lost spiritual anatomy. And the stakes are high. It's our connection to the eternal, the real, the sacred that resides within us. The spiritual heart is not a fantasy or a simple emotional allegory. It is a concrete, energetic reality, even if invisible to the physical eye. To understand its true nature, we must transcend the boundaries of conventional biology and psychology and delve into the hidden map of humanity, laid out by the ancient sages. A map in which body, mind, soul, and spirit are not separate, but interwoven like the threads of a multidimensional tapestry. According to esoteric thought, humans possess multiple bodies or planes of existence. The physical body, the energetic or subtle body, the mental body, the emotional body, and above them, the causal or spiritual body. The spiritual heart is located at the very intersection between the energetic body and the soul. It is the point where life energy is organized and the higher will is expressed. In other words, it is the silent command center from which not only the energy flow in our system is regulated, but also the spiritual direction of our lives. Unlike the brain, which operates on the basis of logic, linearity, and analysis, the spiritual heart operates on the basis of intuition, synthesis, and vibration. It is an organ of metaphysical perception that grasps truth not through logical reasoning, but through resonances. When this heart is active, truth is not inferred but perceived. It is felt as an inner certainty that requires no justification, like a melody that is familiar to us, even if we have never heard it before. This heart doesn't beat to the rhythm of the clock. It beats to the rhythm of the soul. In the human energy body, described in many traditions as an auric field or light body, there are energy centers known as chakras. These are delicate glands that absorb, transform, and distribute energy. The spiritual heart is located in the center of the chest, near the heart chakra, Anahata, but should not be confused with it. While the chakra is an energetic wheel that facilitates flow, the spiritual heart is the conscious core that determines where the energy should flow. The chakra is the instrument, the spiritual heart is the musician. When the spiritual heart awakens, a series of profound inner changes begin to manifest. Humans are no longer guided by selfish desires, but by higher-level impulses. A new moral compass emerges that transcends imposed rules or external doctrines. Genuine compassion develops not as a moral obligation, but as a natural resonance with life. And perhaps most importantly, an inner clarity emerges that allows us to distinguish between truth and illusion with a precision unattainable by the rational mind. The ancient sages affirmed that the spiritual heart is the true seat of the I Am, the essential being who observes without judgment, who loves without possessing, and who understands without effort. It is the silent observer, the eternal witness, who dwells within all of us since before birth and survives the death of the body. To put it more clearly, an extension of the soul itself, which, however, functions as a receiving antenna within the incarnated world. This is why practices such as Sufism, Tantric Buddhism, or Christian mysticism place such great importance on the awakening of the heart as a prerequisite for any genuine spiritual development. For without this awakening, spiritual practice becomes repetitive, empty in dogma, in dead technology. But when the spiritual heart begins to vibrate, everything changes. Meditation becomes meaningful, prayer becomes communion, and life, even in its most banal aspects, becomes a sacred act. Then we begin to understand that the true spiritual journey leads not upward or outward, but inward, to the center, to the hidden place where the truth beats, which has always been waiting for us. Awakening the spiritual heart is not a simple act, nor does it happen automatically. It is an initiatory process, an inner alchemy that requires both courage and dedication. Although this heart has always been there, dormant like a seed beneath the earth, its activation requires traversing dense layers of forgetfulness, emotional wounds, false identities, and worldly distractions. It's not about creating something new, but about remembering what we already are in our deepest being. One of the greatest obstacles to the awakening of the spiritual heart is the dominance of the ego. The ego, the mental structure that constructs its own identity, is skillful, cunning, and highly resistant to change. It is based on fear, comparison, judgment, and a constant desire for control. While the ego seeks to be right, the spiritual heart seeks to understand. While the ego fears loss, the spiritual heart possesses nothing and therefore has no fear. But the ego does not dissolve through a decision or will. It dissolves in the presence of a higher consciousness. And this consciousness is born in the spiritual heart. Many mystical traditions speak of a secret fire burning in the center of the chest. The alchemists called it the fire of inner transmutation. Kabbalistic texts refer to a divine spark, nidus, that lives in the human heart and longs to reunite with the infinite light. This fire is not physical but vibratory. When we begin to live from the spiritual heart, this fire is ignited, and its heat begins to burn away everything that is inauthentic. Masks fall, illusions melt, and what remains is reality. What does this awakening feel like? How do we know if we are truly living from the spiritual heart and not from a passing emotion? The awakening of the heart is neither euphoria nor joy, although it is sometimes accompanied by them. Rather, it is a profound peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, a certainty beyond words, an expansion of being that allows you to see others not as others, but as extensions of yourself. It's as if an invisible door has opened within you, granting you access to a wisdom you don't know from books, but which you recognize as ancient and your own. This state is initially temporary. It appears in flashes, in moments of deep silence, in moments of unconditional love, in meditations where the self dissolves for a few seconds. But with practice and dedication, this heart begins to become the true center of your life. You no longer react from reason or impulse, but from a presence that observes everything, encompasses everything, and illuminates everything. Interestingly, when the spiritual heart awakens, a kind of inner guidance is also activated. Many have described it as a gentle voice, a whisper that doesn't impose itself but rather guides precisely. This voice doesn't shout because it doesn't need to. Those who listen to the soul can recognize it even amidst the noise. Then we discover something extraordinary. The spiritual heart not only transforms our perception, it also changes the quality of our life energy. The flow of prana, chi, or subtle energy becomes more harmonious and coherent, depending on the chosen tradition. The physical body begins to heal, emotions regulate, and the mind finds clarity. The spiritual heart reorganizes the entire human energy system like a conductor tuning a chaotic orchestra. It does this not through force, but through the vibration of conscious love. This reveals the great secret that many traditions have jealously guarded. The spiritual heart is not merely an organ of perception. It is an instrument of transformation. It is the foundation of all authentic spiritual development and the most amazing thing of all. This hidden organ has always been there, patiently waiting for us to listen to it, to touch it with the pure intention of awakening. The awakening of the spiritual heart is not reserved only for saints, mystics, or monks who have withdrawn from the world. On the contrary, it's a real possibility for anyone who wants to live a deeper, more meaningful, and more harmonious life. But this awakening doesn't happen by chance. It requires intention, consistency, and a genuine willingness to look within. Next, I'll share some practices and attitudes that, when integrated with commitment and reverence, can help you ignite and sustain the flame of your spiritual heart. First, cultivate inner silence. The spiritual heart doesn't speak amidst noise. Its language is subtle, more like a whisper than a voice. To listen to it, it is necessary to create spaces of inner silence. This means not only silencing the external environment, but also learning to calm the whirlwind of thoughts, judgments, and expectations that fill our minds. Take a few minutes each day, even if it's only 10, to be in complete silence, without questioning, without analyzing, simply being. This space is fertile and offers the heart the opportunity to manifest. Second, Focus your attention on the center of your chest. A powerful practice is to gently but steadily focus your attention on the center of your chest. You can do this during meditation, mindful walking, or even in the middle of your daily tasks. This gesture of bringing attention to the spiritual heart acts as a vibrational key, beginning to activate its dormant energy. Over time, you'll notice this center begin to radiate warmth and a vibrant presence, almost as if it's answering your call. Third, practice coherence between thoughts, words, and actions. The spiritual heart thrives on integrity when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. You create a clean channel through which your energy can flow. This connection not only strengthens your energy field, but also refines your inner perception. It's not about being perfect, but about being authentic and having the courage to act from your own truth, even if it's not popular or convenient. Fourth, turn pain into a door. Deep wounds, losses, and moments of crisis are often catalysts for spiritual awakening. Instead of running away from pain, observe it with your heart. Ask yourself, which part of me needs to be reborn? Often, the spiritual heart is activated in the darkest moments, because that's when the masks break and the essential truth emerges. Don't deny the pain, but transform it into a gateway to the sacred. Fifth, serve with conscious love. Selfless service, performed with pure intention, is one of the most powerful ways to activate the spiritual heart. It's not just about helping out of a sense of duty, but about recognizing the other as an extension of yourself. When you serve from the heart, you tune into a higher frequency. Every gesture, every word, every small action becomes a ritual of connection with the divine. Sixth, give thanks as a mystical act. Gratitude is not just a beautiful feeling, it is a transformative force. When you give thanks from the bottom of your heart, your vibration rises, your energy expands, and your spiritual heart begins to blossom. Be grateful for the seen and the unseen, for the simple and the challenging. Gratitude is the fertilizer that nourishes the secret garden of the soul. These practices are not mechanical techniques, but sacred acts, and like all things sacred, they require respect, perseverance, and love. When you incorporate them into your life not as duties but as offerings, you sow the seeds for a life guided by the heart, from the hidden center where your deepest truth lies. We live in a time where the noise outside has reached a deafening volume. Screens flash, opinions are loudly voiced, time is fragmented, and attention is scattered. Amid this turmoil, we have moved away from the only place where truth does not need to be proven, where peace does not depend on external conditions, and where wisdom is not taught but the spiritual heart is reminded. On this journey, we have rediscovered that this heart is neither a poetic invention nor a romantic metaphor. It is a real, deep, luminous center, recognized as the core of being by the great spiritual traditions of humanity, by the Egyptians, the yogis, the Sufis, and the Christian mystics. They all expressed it in their own way, but with equal certainty. Within you there is a temple, and within that temple burns a flame that cannot be extinguished, but can be forgotten. Modern science, for its part, has accomplished wonders in the study of mind and body, but has ignored, if not despised, the invisible realms of the soul. However, something is changing. More and more people are feeling a restlessness that cannot be quenched by logic or consumerism, a thirst that cannot be quenched by simple answers. It is the spiritual heart that is beginning to call, to stir, to awaken. The greatest challenge on this path is not finding the spiritual heart, for it has always been there. The challenge is to trust it, because living from the center means detaching from many structures, no longer obeying the mind when it sabotages us, forgoing immediate pleasure in favor of a deeper truth, and, above all, letting go of the need for absolute control. But the reward is immense. Living from the spiritual heart means regaining your inner compass. Remember that we are not separate from life, but interwoven into its sacred plan. It means understanding that every being, every encounter, every pain and every joy has a place in a greater symphony, orchestrated not by chance but by the intelligence of the soul. It's about learning not to walk with the feet of haste, but with the reverent steps of someone who knows that every moment is a threshold. I invite you to not let this knowledge remain just a nice idea. Bring it into your life. Speak to your heart every morning. Feel it when you have to make a decision. Ask it if you can't think of an answer. Listen to it when the world demands you be something you are not. And above all, trust. For if you persevere and nurture the flame, the day will come when your spiritual heart will be not only a guide, but also your home. And in that home, there will be no loneliness, no confusion, and no fear. Only a serene, ancient, powerful certainty that you are exactly where you need to be, and that everything you need to remember who you are is already burning at the very core of your chest. If this message resonated with you, if something was activated within you, or if you were reminded of a forgotten truth, I invite you to delve even deeper into this journey. Subscribe to the channel and join this community seeking awakening, not from the mind, but from the soul. Here we explore forgotten knowledge, soul maps, and tools to transform your life from within. Like this video if it inspired you, because every burst of positive energy helps us spread this message to even more sleeping hearts. And if you feel the calling, share this video with someone who needs to hear these words. Sometimes a single message can light a light that's been out for years. Remember, the journey to the spiritual heart is not an escape, but a return, the holiest and truest of all.